Where is the wettest spot in the desert? 18 days ago, it snowed here at Dustups. And today, it looks like it never even happened. My mission is building a desert forest. I'm delighted for the moisture that came with the recent snow, but that's not enough to make a forest on its own. Instead of struggling for up to a year, like I did my first year trying syntropic agroforestry with this heavy snowfall, and I say heavy for this region, it's a desert. It gives me immediate feedback whether the work that I'm doing is likely to pay off, because if water sticks around, trees will grow. I've done a lot of work over the last 3 years between earthworks and soil amendments. Today, we're gonna run a little healthy competition. Stick around to find out which spot is gonna be crowned the wettest spot in the desert. But before we meet our contestants, we should introduce our judge. Say hello to Frank. Frank is a water meter. He's not very lively, but when he speaks the brutal truth. And right now, Frank says it's bone dry, but that's because he's not in the ground. This is one of my better dirt bathtubs, and the idea behind dirt bathtub, earth smile, demi-lune, Zy-pit, they're all the same idea. There's floodwater, you want to catch it and soak it in one spot. And after 3 years, I believe, there is growth. There is plants growing in the bottom. It is more densely vegetated than the surrounding area. However, it's underwhelming. And what the vegetation's probably going to tell me is the same thing that Frank wants to tell me, which is that it's probably pretty dry in there. But let's find out. Frank says 1 step above bone dry. 1 step is not a terribly informative term. In this case, it was a 2. Our next structure is a check dam, and I'm standing in front of one of the better ones where a significant amount of vegetation has washed down this wash and been collected in front of the dam. So with the shade and the water collection and the silt deposition, this one should have more moisture than the dirt bathtubs. But again, this wasn't a flood event, so we're not expecting this little guy to do well in our competition, but let's ask Frank. You can see some very little germinations down there. We'll stick him down really close to those germinations. Not on top of, but just close. And here we have another 2. Okay, and then from the check dam over to right here is an actual dam. I'm not exactly sure because I haven't been able to estimate this area very well. We'll call it 10 or 15,000 gallons, but spread over a fairly large area. It should be more wet. Well, it is way more moist deeper down, but I don't know what to expect at the surface. I want to test where the grass is growing because that's the major change since I built this structure about 2 years ago. Since then, we've had grass established. There's a cactus that volunteered there. There's some cereal rye that I planted over there that actually germinated from the moisture. So things are going really well this winter, but I want to see if we have actual proof that there is water in the soil right now. So I'll try it in the best possible spot, which is by this rock where I can see that the ground is wet. Now, I just can't see the actual reading. It's a 2. I'm hungry, I need a snack, and I'm going to make smart choices. And that's why I'm going for David Protein. One of the cool things about doing Dustups and doing it on YouTube is that I'm documenting my life in the process. Recently, I switched to a restricted calorie diet that is very, very high in protein. One thing that's been making a huge difference is a David Protein bar. It's hard not being able to indulge in sweets and fats and all the things that I like. So knowing that I can reach for a very high protein bar, I think it's 70% of the calories come from the protein, There's no sugar, there's no junk. I have every intention of eating David because it's just as delicious as any regular candy bar, except that it doesn't come with the guilt factor. The bar gives me 28 grams of protein for just 150 calories. For my meals where I'm eating eggs or cottage cheese or all the stuff that's really high in protein, it's nice to have something in the middle with a marshmallowy texture and chocolate and all the things that everybody loves and enjoys. You know, the easiest way to make good decisions is to enjoy those decisions. They're gluten-free and blood sugar friendly, so I don't have to deal with any crashes. David's offering my viewers a deal. If you get 4 cartons, they'll throw in a 5th one for free, but you have to use the link in the description or the QR code that you see on the screen. You can also get them at Walmart, Target, or Kroger. So go get some protein and skip the junk. I'm curious to see what you think about surface level moisture, because this thing only goes in so deep. The idea behind earthworks, big earthworks like dams, smaller ones like check dams, or the dirt bathtubs, the idea is that the water would soak into the ground where plants can go get it. It's not designed to facilitate germination and keep the moisture at the surface where it's likely to evaporate away. So what I want to do is show you where not only are we catching more water, but we've done soil amendments. And the best place for me to test is on SW2, where we have added a lot of horse manure and we have a lot of mulch. And even though it's been 18 days, we haven't needed to run the irrigation because everything that we're growing is doing excellent. But next week, it'll be time to give them a drink. I was sad to see that my Day of Dustups episode totally bombed. But what I spent the day doing was planting seeds, and this is the result. Good boy. In our somewhat exposed but still mulched area, we get a 4.5. So it's no surprise why we were able to get the germinations to go so well, because we have mulch, we have horse manure as a soil amendment. It's holding onto the water and keeping the humidity at the surface long enough so that the seeds are encouraged to germinate and go find the deeper water that's soaking, because this is a water catchment structure. We have a contract with NRCS to apply horse manure, not here, but other parts of the ranch. And as part of that, we had to do a soil test to analyze what's the end result before and after. And I don't think the results of the soil test could have come out much better. We have high levels of every macronutrient that a plant could want. The only thing that I was slightly concerned about was that we elevated the boron pretty close to the maximum safe range. Obviously, it's not affecting anything so far. It looks really solid. I think the application rate is ideal. There's a reason we had grass grow all over this terrace in the fall, because it came with a seed bank in the horse manure. It's very nutritious, and we just proved that it's holding on to water. But we should also look where there isn't mulch just to see the difference. So we got up to a 4.5 on that spot, but when I plant it here in the section where the grass is growing, which this probably is still cheating a little bit because it has this ECB, but it's still a 3. And a 3 is better than any of the water harvesting structures that we tested over there. So just having a surface that grabs onto the water makes more of a difference than catching the water physically. I don't often get to do tests like this because I'm usually running out around the ranch frantically trying to get 50 million projects done. It's nice to be able to slow down and just do some tests. I know a lot of the longtime viewers get frustrated because I don't post weekly updates. It doesn't really match my schedule with how I'm out here once a month. And I need a lot of time to go through literally a terabyte of footage sometimes from every trip to figure out the story I want to tell. And the way I want to keep everybody updated is on Team Dustups. I've built this from scratch because my background is a software developer, and it's the place. It's an experience like Facebook, except no annoying political commentary, no anything off random topics. It's all focused on this project and other projects that we can learn from. So if you want to be in a community full of like-minded folks and get real-time updates from the ranch, what's working, what's not working, what's next on the schedule, Team Dustups is the place to do it. It's free. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code and I will see you there. Oh, and if you really want to send me a YouTube video, please don't email me. I can't click on links, every link that everybody sends me. I literally get 5 a day, and it's probably 2 hours worth of YouTube videos daily that people want me to watch. If you have a YouTube video you think I should watch, go put it in Team Dustups. That's the best place to organize it, because I don't want it just to be about me learning. I hope everybody watching this wants to get ideas, and the best way to do that is let's all talk to each other, not just me. I'm standing here on the south face of the South Dam, pointing downstream. And I'm really interested in testing this part because we just tested on the terrace where there's a little bit of ECB and horse manure. And we still had, I think it was a 3. What I'm interested in doing is comparing this particular spot. It's the low spot on the flat deck underneath the dam where we added a large concentration of horse manure. And there's no ECB, there's no mulch. Let's see if there's any difference here, because we have a lot less grass. The thing that's curious about this area is this is the low spot right here, but there's not as much grass, and I know for a fact that there's water pooling here because I've seen it. So in a low spot where we have vegetation, and I've seen it flooding, and I have proof, it's a 2. Give me some good news, Frank. This structure is everybody's favorite. It's a Beaver Dam analog. We actually have a contract to build 5 more with NRCS that we are going to start on, I hope, next month. And I don't think this is going to make a huge difference in the moisture level, but we've definitely seen the vegetative response. We've done episodes on these before if you're interested in the idea. These are super helpful. It's not ideal for my context, but they are making a difference. It advances the mission, and we're getting paid to do it, so it makes sense to focus on. All right, I'm gonna go where I see the vegetation. I think that is a good indicator of potential moisture, but I also struggled with the rocks here. Hey, that one's actually better. It's a 3. I'll take it. Maybe I need to reassess my attitude towards BDAs. I knew about the snow event in advance, and I really wanted to be out here, but in the back of my mind, actually not the back, the front, I was thinking about the snowpocalypse or snowvid from 2021. And anybody in Texas remembers this because the entire state shut down. The natural gas production in the state completely stopped because the wells froze. That led to power plants not having anything to burn, and of course our solar and our wind power completely died. So the state just didn't have enough electricity. The snow, we don't have snow equipment. So all of the ice formed on the roads, we couldn't drive. There's no food in the grocery stores. And in my particular case, we didn't have power for 36 hours. It was pretty awful. And I did not want to leave my wife and kids in Fort Worth just so that I could go play on my ranch. So you'll have to pardon me for not getting you live snow footage. I kind of feel like the coach of a team. And every coach has their favorite players. You can pretend you don't. It's not true. You do. And I really wanted to build the story up and show you the best scenario at the end. But the problem is, I don't know what the best scenario is. And honestly, I'm really looking forward to showing you the Windbreak where it's really green and there's no gaps. I think it looks awesome. So I got to pick. Am I going to go to the cave hole or to the Swale? I think the cave hole is probably the highest performer. There's clay deep down, and I've added some mulch in the area, and it caught 20,000 gallons of water this year. So I'm not absolutely certain it's going to win, but with the amount of water that it's had and the fact that there's a lot of silt in there and some organic matter that we added manually, I think that's going to be the winner. This ought to be the wettest spot just because, 1, I can see it's wet here, and 2, it's at the bottom of a giant hole that had 20,000 gallons in, I don't know, 150 square feet. So let's find out. That's what I'm talking about. 10 out of 10. I like when I'm right. And this is the reason that it worked because it's clay. I only have to walk maybe 30 yards and I have an observation well on the swale. We have the same kind of clay, but even though the entire thing goes 1,200 feet and we added 500,000 gallons of floodwater to it this year, it doesn't have mulch on it, and it certainly didn't put 20,000 gallons in one spot. So I think this is gonna get walloped by the cave hole, but I cannot wait to find out. But before we do, let's check the observation well and see if there's moisture. It's wet, so watch this. Go back, my precious water. Okay, this is the shallow one. This one's only 12 to 18 inches. And then this is the water at 30 inches, I believe. Oh, I just got water on me too. So there's water in the cap, but it's too far down, I can't see. All right, let's check and see. Hey, not bad. No soil amendments, exposed to the sun, in pure clay. Frank says it's a 3. I guarantee this will not be the wettest, but I also guarantee I think it's the best visual. This is where I'm gonna put the bulk of my effort this year. I'm standing on the Windbreak near camp, and I have a big green stripe from start to finish. All the seeds are taking off. We've learned our lesson about how to get seeds to germinate in the desert, and that's what's gonna help me get the trees established right by camp and really show meaningful progress, not just for this project as a whole, but for my personal learning. And I can't in good faith put the water meter here because I watered this little strip and I'm not done yet about 4 hours ago, so that would be blatantly cheating. But I can do this part right here. This was the second batch, so it's not quite as dense. But I'm super curious to see how the water's doing, because the key difference between the first terrace that I showed you, SW2, and here is that we put an absurd amount of horse manure here. Probably 3 or 4 times as dense. I haven't done a soil test in this spot. I guarantee all the nutrient levels are high. It probably might even poison some trees, but just from the response of the fava beans and the cereal rye, it looks like we're gonna be okay. Okay, one last test. I'm gonna do it right where we have all these germinations happening and this cereal rye taking off. This is not going to be anywhere near like the cave hole. It's a 3. That's not actually a bad thing for growing plants in the desert. We don't want things to always have wet feet. The beans and the cereal rye could easily handle that, but it's not absolutely necessary. The job of these plants is to grow up and provide a canopy and shade so that when the sun is more intense in April and we plant our tree seeds, that we're able to maintain the humidity at the surface to get them to germinate and just get the canopy going from right now 1 inch all the way up to 15, 20 feet. Thank you for helping me find the wettest spot in the desert. Thank you, Frank, for helping me measure all of this. Frank recommends that you go to the wettest spot. I drowned plants in a desert. It's a story about building the cave hole and what I learned along the way.